Good morning, guys. Welcome to last trading day of April 30th. And so far we are looking at an overnight. We're just holding on to the gains, kind of staying in the trading range of yesterday. They couldn't stay above the 58.80, 55.80 level, or the 75 level actually. So they couldn't stay above that one going into the overnight. They kind of backed off before that, and they've been pretty much holding on to the range throughout the overnight. I'll see what happens throughout the day though, but so far the overnight is holding on. Volume wise, we are looking at 150 on the micro, the full size at the 98. So yes, reasonable trading volume. Let's see, do this now. The news this morning. This is a pretty busy news day. So we got the mortgage applications came out at 7. They were a little bit to the downside across the board, like 3-4% across the board to the downside. At 8:15 we get the ADP report. 8:30 we get GDP and Treasury refunding, employment cost index. 9:45 we get Chicago PMI. 10 o'clock we get personal income and outlays and pending home sales. We got a packed news week and news day, and then oil report at 10:30. So we have news at 8:15, 8:30, 9:45, 10, and 10:30. So packed amount of news, and it's probably going to be a little bit choppy looking at all this stuff coming out and being digested. So that's what we got going here today. Then tomorrow we get jobless claims, PMI, ISM, construction spending, and then of course Friday we get the employment situation. But this is the last trading day of April, first month of the second quarter, and tomorrow we're going to be in May. So starting off, you can see here the overnight holding on to the gains, and we're holding above this area. We're holding above the 55.60s. So this whole area congestion right now, we have taken that out and we're holding right above it. So if we can hold on to this level now, we may be in good shape to start retracing it. It's been a slog to get through this, but if we can get going, we can see a pretty quick run up here towards that 57.50s, maybe even up to 57.50s is your attractor right now. So that would be the next level to look for. They had a couple of high volume areas to be as a tractor, 57.10 and the 56.70 here for on the way up, and this one right there at the 56.20s. So four high volume areas on the way up. This is the more dominant one at 57.50, but we'll see if they can get going here. So that would be a very interesting shift. I would say that the capital flow would probably start shifting to the upside if they can clear this area and start trading above it. So we have been in this lower area for quite a while now, and basically quite a while. It's been a month. And right now, if we can start scratching up above this area, we may be in good shape to trade higher. So watch that the lower 55, 50, and 60s, and if they start retracing below that. But this is the whole area of congestion. So reverse retesting that one. On weakness, I would be looking to buying it at 55. Okay, so they just took out the 65s here. So looking to buy against the 55.50s, the 40s, 30s, down to the 20s for rotations back up. So these three levels I would be buying against. Below the 20, we're taking off that long bias and looking for a move to the downside instead. So that would be a not so good day if they start taking out that low. That would be definitely back on the short side, starting looking for the retracement. These two are the last two ones, the 5500 and 5495s, or 5500s and 5490s. Below these two, bets are off. But I mean, I would already start below that 55.20s to start leading in on the short side and see if they can run it lower. The last two I would look for is these two, the 5500 and the 5490s for potential buying opportunities. But that would be a pretty ugly day if we get that far down, put it that way. And on the way up, looking for short setups against resistance, 55.80s, 90s up to the 5600s. This is 55.95. So looking for shorts against the 55.80s, the 90s up to the 55.95s, and we'll see if they can take it. Or this is 90, sorry. This is see if they can take out these areas of resistance. It could be a choppy day, so I mean anything can happen today, I think, in terms of where they're going to go. But it looks like the trade deals and everything's kind of coming along. I heard some good news about a tax package. They're going to get that started to get done before Memorial. So if they can get that package through before the July 4th weekend, I mean it has enough time to work before the midterms, and that would be the challenge there. The politics of that has been pretty obvious for a while. That if you drag that tax cut out to the end of the year, it doesn't start working until it basically starts working too late for the midterm, and then you end up losing the House, and then you lost your edge. So it's a little bit of politics built into that timing as well. Anyway, for us, we're looking at a market which potentially can take this higher. A little bit of good news, a couple of trade deals, and I think we are on our way. But right now, you're looking to buy a weakness against the 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s for rotations back up. Looking for short setups against, well, the 65s now potentially short setup, but against the 80s, the 90s, up to the 95s here for rotations back down. So that's how we get started this last trading day of April. Looking at our NASDAQ and the bonds, the bond market trading higher. Nice move up yesterday. So far, they're holding on and extending to the upside. So the bond market is right up here again. Yields coming down. The bond market right back here to the 17, 16 to 18s. And at this point, we'll just going to look for range bound trading once they get there. So they may be overshooting this one up here towards the 118s. But basically, when in this area, the 25s, 26s, is where you run into this area, this attractor area. Hang on a sec. This is 14, 15. So you are at the attractor area right now. You're heading up to the 118, gets you up to that upper edge. So I would expect it to stall here and pretty much go sideways, or potentially see a bounce, an early morning bounce as if they hit it. So if they get up to this area, maybe a little bounce. It's not been too much going on in the overnight. It's pretty much at that area, so not sure that bounce is going to be very big, but there's an opportunity for it. First time to a high volume area. So I would basically look for range bound trading in this attractor area, maybe an attempt to take it up to the 118s and retest that level. So that's how we get started on the bonds. Slight bias to the upside. Let's see how far they can take it. And if they start trading below the 117s, take off the long bias. Look for potentially for a retracement trade, but initially we're looking to buy against that 117.05s and the 1630 to 117s for rotations back up. It could be an edge here right there at the 1708s, but it's getting a little bit crowded there, so I kind of left it out. Or I can just do this instead, make it a little bit adjusted, a little bit like this. It look a little bit crowded. That make this edge just a little bit smaller, like so, and then make this edge right there a little bit smaller like that. So there you have two close edges right there. So buying against the 1708s, the 4s, and down to the 1630 to 117s for rotations back up again. And below that 1630s, look for a potential retracement trade to the downside at that point. So that's where we are on the bonds to get started. NASDAQ. Heading lower. Okay, we got the ADP number come out. There's a bit of a reaction going on in the market right now. But NASDAQ also in a pretty good spot. They're definitely volatile trading. Yesterday was pretty sloppy, volatile back and forth. I mean, expecting the same today. So as long as they hold above this area, the 370, 380s, I'm going to be staying on the long side and see if they can retrace the move or start retracing to the upside here. So initially looking to buy against at this point against the 490s that they're trading right now, 450s, 410s, 380s, 350s down to the 310s for rotations back up. These two areas, the 350 and 310s, if that comes out, we are well below this area and we are heading lower at that point. Below that 200, if they get that far down and bets are off, we are heading lower at that point. So that would be one ugly scenario if they get that far down. So the first level to hold is that 370, the 350 to 370 level, and it is right. This is the this area right there. So that holds. We're in good shape to hold on to this range, potentially take it back up again. But it's they start taking out these lower areas, the 350s and the 310s. We are back in that lower range, and below that lower edge at the 200s. Oh boy, bets are off at that point. So that's how we get started on the Nasdaq. And on the longs, on the short side, looking for shorts against the 595s, the 630s up to the 680s for rotations back down again. So yes, and not going to be super aggressive on them, but given the range that we haven't just been grinding this higher, I would not be surprised if they could be some nice short setups against these areas. If they take out the 680s, then I think we are on our way higher. And we have a pretty obvious attractor right here at the 20,060s to get to. A couple of high volume areas. The first one was here at the 700. That's the one we kind of bounced into yesterday. Next one up is the 870s, and then up to the 20,060s. So that's where we are heading. And remember, low volume areas in between will act as stoppers as well. So and that'll get through a few different spots here before we get up there, but we'll see. Okay, so we get some early weakness. What was that number? ADP was up 62 versus expectation of 115, is what they're saying on the news. A little bit weaker than expected on the job side of things. And my negative reaction on the market. That sell-off. There's a pretty good sell-off going on the Nasdaq right now. Heading back down. But anyway, so we know what to do here. We have the lower areas to pay attention to, and let's see how strong or how weak the market is going to get. There's a lot of cross currents going on today for sure. Then finally, oil and gold. And gold, big move to the downside on gold in the overnight. They really knocked that thing down. And the capital flow on gold, you can see it pretty obvious there. Big move, right down here to that lower edge at 32.70. Now they're retracing it. And the one area to watch is that short setup against 3300s. If that comes out, to start retracing above that, I would look for a long move right up here to the 3310s. But right now, I would look for a reverse retest at the 3300s for a short setup and see if they can run it back down again. So nice little bounce off that low. They ran it down there and then pretty hard bounce at the open. Let's see if they can start retracing the single print piece. If they can, we may find ourselves right back up here in that 3310 area in no time. But you can see pretty violent retracement here right now. So nice retest failure, V bottom. It's sloppy, but it's still a retest. And I mean, this is difficult to trade. I mean, I would not trade this. If you try to step in front of that knife, you're looking at 76 down to 75. This is, well, it's just easy enough for them to run it down enough to stop you out before they start moving. So pretty volatile action going on gold right now, but right up here against that 33.95s. So watch that reverse retest of the 32.98 to 3300s for a potential short setup. That's what I would be looking for. So leaning short to get started, and then we'll see if they can take out that edge or not. And then finally, and buying against on the long side, still looking to buy against those lows at the 32.75s and 32.70s. So it could be even up to the 32.80s. But these three lower support areas, definitely looking to buy against those still. Unless they take him out. If they take out that low at 75, all bets are off on the downside on gold. And we can head down all the way down to 3,000 again. And that would be one ugly day for gold. And if they take out this low volume area, the next attractor is down at 32.30, and of course pretty weak volumes. And the next level down is 32, and then we can find ourselves pretty quick down retracing a lot of this light volume stuff we had on the way up here. This was a pretty violent move. And here's your 3,000 level. That's where you have some volume again. I spent some time there, and then we're back up in the 3100 range. So we can get down there pretty quick depending on what happens with with some of these trade deals and stuff. If things starts calming down, I think gold's going to find itself retracing some of those crazy gains it had. So we'll see. They're heading right up here now for that reverse retest. Let's see if they can hold that level. And then finally, oil. Way down. Look at that. Way down. There's talked about the new production from a new oil field in the Gulf, a joint venture field, and that's the stuff, And now it's like drill, baby, drill. You're going to start seeing oil prices come down, energy prices come down. Everything is going to start getting cheaper, but a lot of the transportation costs, diesel cost, is going to come down as well. So going to be a natural decrease in prices just because of the transportation costs to move things around. So inflation is going to come down with that as well. So at this point, we're going to sell strength 60s, 60 50s, 60 75s up to the 61 20s. Above 61, or I would say above the 60 75s, we are right back here to this attractor again. So at this point, looking for them to see if they can take it lower and test at 58.75, maybe even probe that. But still looking for buying opportunities against this area. So this is just down testing that lower edge again. And so I would looking for buying opportunities against the 59.50s, 59.10s, 58.75s to the 58.30s. Below the 30s, 58.30s, we are down below the lower edge, and we are going to be in this tail. So I would lean in on the short side at that point. I would reverse my position and stay on the short side at that point. But still, on the way down, this is pretty good support. Looking for buying opportunities against it for rotations back up. So if we get early strength instead, looking to get short up to that level, the 60 75s. Above the 61s, we are back up in this upper range again. So taking off the short bias then. All right, so that's oil. Let's see if this could be a start of a move out of the middle to the downside. We'll see if that happens. Our default trade is that it's going to fail, and we're going to trade back up to the 61. So that's our default trade. Look at gold here. Now they're probing above this area. So pretty crazy move on that one. Look at that. All right, guys, back to the ES. And all right, so some weakness now based on that ADP number. Market didn't like the number. So we're getting into, in a few minutes, we get some more information. We get the GDP read and a bunch of employment cost index and a bunch of other stuff coming out. So hold on to your horses. It's going to be a bumpy ride, I think. So we'll leave it there for now, guys, and I'll see you back at 11:30 for the next update. So good trading, and I'll see you back then. Let's see if they can hold on to these gains. That's going to be the key question for today. All right, guys, later.